Thank you, Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters and guests. I'm glad to be speaking to you today. To start off, I'm going to show you the 9 dots puzzle. Has anybody here actually ever solved this puzzle? Yeah. So we have a couple. The intent of the puzzle is you're supposed to link all 9 dots using 4 straight lines or fewer without lifting the pen and without tracing the same line more than once. I'm not going to have you do it, but I will skip ahead to the solution. The most often cited solution appears in this screen, which shows how you can solve it in using only 4 lines. And as you can see, to solve it, you need to actually draw the lines outside of that box. When I think of mentoring and protege relationship, I think of instances where someone has pushed me to think outside of the box. Thinking outside the box is not easy because we are creatures of habit. We enjoy staying in our comfort zones. To think outside the box might mean giving up your beliefs or increasing your chances of failure or rejection. However, when you start thinking differently, you're able to grow on a professional and personal level. Today, I'm going to talk to you about mentors and my experiences as a protege by breaking them up into 3 buckets. You have your mentors by default, your mentors by chance, and your mentors by choice. The mentors by default are your parents, your siblings, your children. Parents, of course, should be procreating with the intention of raising their children to be the best version of themselves. Siblings, if you're younger, you're likely emulating what the older ones are doing, and children, they're just ignorant that that box exists anyways, and they'll kind of set your perceptions differently. Today, I'm going to talk about my mother. Well, she's right-handed, I'm left-handed. Growing up, she always did crocheting, and I was with my aunts, and I wanted to learn, and I said, Mom, can you show me how to do that? Well, you would think usually when you're showing somebody, you're going to follow along exactly what they're doing. And what she said was, sit right in front of me and do exactly opposite. This is an example of how changing that perception actually made it easier for me to pick up what she was doing. In fact, this is how I've taught my right-handed friends how to crochet. The next group I have is the mentors by chance. Now, you might think you're picking your teachers, you're picking your bosses, you pick your coworkers, but really that's not what happens. Maybe you pick your school. You might be interviewed by your boss, but if you stay in the job longer than 1 year, likely you don't have that same boss. And coworkers, they come and go the same as bosses do, right? You'll have those mentors by chance, though. If they're a good boss, if they're a good coworker, maybe even you go to a specific training, you'll learn something that kind of catches you and it pushes you. Today, I'm going to tell you a story that I learned in one of these chance trainings that I went to that really helps me think of why we need to think about doing things in a different way. So the story goes, a husband and wife are preparing dinner. The wife is preparing a ham. She cuts an inch off of either side of the ham, and her husband gets up and exclaims, "What are you doing?" Well, she's like, "I'm preparing the ham." And he's like, "Why did you just waste all that meat, precious ham?" Well, the wife says, "I don't know. That's the way my mother always did it." So later that evening, she calls her mother and she says, "Mom, why did you always cut off the ends of the ham?" And she says, "Well, I don't know. That's the way my mother always did it." Well, the grandmother has passed away by now, but the grandpa is still around. So she calls her grandpa and asks, "Grandfather, why did grandma always cut off the ends of the ham?" And he said, "Let me think for a minute." "Ah, yes, it was to fit it into the pan." Now, in this story, you can see this is why you want to think outside the box, because somebody might do something and you might learn from them, but it might not always make sense by the time you're doing what you need to do, especially in the changing times that we have now. And lastly, we have our mentors by choice. Mentors by choice are the ones you choose, your friends, your spouses. Maybe they were previous coworkers. You might sign up for professional mentoring or even professional groups like Toastmasters. Well, I'll say these are the people that you want to surround yourself with. And I surround myself with for that unbiased push to get me outside of the box. When I do all my major life choices, I usually do a pro and con list. And then I go to my friends or my spouse and I use them as my sounding board of, does this make sense? Should I be doing this? Last year, I took a new job, which required me to present to our senior leadership. And I tell you, I bombed that first presentation. And I, at the time, had signed up for mentoring in my company. And I asked my mentor, oh my gosh, I can't believe I did this. And I remember talking to him and he says, you have to practice. And I was like, really? And of course, yada, yada, yada. He's an area director for the club that our company hosts. And he says, you should join Toastmasters. Of course, I've joined Toastmasters before. And I remember, well, yeah, it is a lot easier when you stay on the bike, right? When you continue to practice speaking. And I'll tell you, each and every one of you is my mentor. I recently gave my boss the same feedback that I believe Warren gave me one time, which I know I said a couple times today, was the use of right at the end of your sentence. He gave a presentation to all of our managers, and it was every other statement he was saying, right? And I told him, no, I heard. You shouldn't be using that. I take Jim's advice all the time where he says, take what you like, leave what you don't. I tried to emulate the best of each of you so that I could be a better me. In conclusion, I just want to say that mentors are around us every day. It's whether or not we choose to recognize them as a mentor. When we think outside of the box, the real exercise and challenge is to step out of those comfort zones, those boundaries that we put ourselves in. As a protege, I've learned that the catalyst for real change exists in the ability to imagine new possibilities, even if they feel out of reach, to question the way things are, and to stretch the boundaries of what could be. Thank you.